Hi guys, it is Monday, April 27th. Welcome back. Hope everybody had a great weekend. And I'm really excited about today as we are starting the civil rights movement. And, this is, I wish that we could spend a lot more time on this like we would in class to really develop it, as the civil rights movement is certainly the seminal social movement of the 20th century. However, if we spent a ton of time on that, then as you sort of look at the big outline that I gave you of these last 7 weeks, then we wouldn't be able to get into some of the other important social movements, particularly feminism, right? And some of those other really important political and cultural developments that took place during this time in the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, and even beyond. So I'm trying to be really selective and pick what is the most important for you to take out of the civil rights movement. And this week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we are doing time period 5. It's another one of those really meaty. It's basically the Civil War and right before the Civil War and Reconstruction. There's a lot that goes to it. Okay. Those are 3 pretty big topics. So we need 3 days. I need to allocate 3 days for you to have a thorough review. So Monday and Friday of this week are the civil rights movement. Friday is a really condensed version of major events that took place, whether it is something like Jackie Robinson or President Truman's desegregation after World War II, and then certainly look at the landmark ruling in Brown versus Board of Education, which I know that you got a little bit back in 9th grade in AP Civics. But for today, we're doing one thing, and this is what I would do with you in class, okay? We are actually fast forwarding and looking at the case of Medgar Evers and the song that Bob Dylan wrote about him called Only a Pawn in Their Game. To me, it's the best way to introduce the civil rights movement and the challenges, the obstacles that the civil rights movement is facing, as this is such a major social change in American history. So here's what I want you to do. All right, so on our Google Classroom for today, there is a 4-minute mini doc on Medgar Evers. It's really good. It's put out by the Biography Channel. It is fantastic, right? And you hear the tragic story of Medgar Evers and his assassination by a white supremacist, Byron Della Beckwith. Byron Della Beckwith belonged to the Mississippi White Citizens Council after the Brown decision, and White Citizens Council, I mean, that's a euphemism for a white supremacist group. It just didn't have the historical track record for violence that the Klan had. Della Beckwith was also a member of the Ku Klux Klan. So you watch this documentary about Medgar Evers and his assassination by Byron Della Beckwith. Then I want you to watch that day, June 12th, 1963, Bob Dylan heard about this. I hope you have an idea as to how Bob Dylan was socially conscious. And Bob Dylan writes this song immediately. And he performs it live in early July. It was July 4th through July 7th, 1963, at the Newport Jazz Festival, which those of you that are music people know that is a legendary concert. And so I was able to find, I can't post it on YouTube because they take down everything Dylan, but it's on our multimedia site. You should be able to access it. If you have any problems, just shoot me an email, but it should be working good. Of him performing that live for the first time. And I included a Google Doc. This is like when Dylan was still really lucid, so you can understand everything that he sings, but I still included a Google Doc that has a copy of the lyrics. Dylan also, one of the amazing things, and you can search this on YouTube if you want, the famous March on Washington in August of 1963, at the microphone right before Martin Luther King takes the mic and gives his famous I Have a Dream speech, Bob Dylan stands at that mic right before Martin Luther King and plays this song. So he's kind of a big deal, and this is kind of a big deal. So what I want you to do is listen to that song, read the lyrics, and then I'm asking you a question. What is the meaning behind the lyric, which he ends every verse with, he's only a pawn in their game? Don't Google this, okay? Remember, our grades are pass-fail. If you write something that you make a good faith effort at this, you're going to pass, okay? So you're not going to get anything out of this if you look this up, okay? That defeats the entire purpose of this. I don't care what the internet knows. I want you to hear, again, it's only a 4-minute doc on Medgar Evers and his assassination by Byron De La Beckwith. I want you to listen to this song. It's beyond powerful. Like it is, like we should be doing this in class. I know, right? It's beyond powerful, particularly this version. It's so good. And then I want you, the directions are all on the Google Classroom. What does Bob Dylan mean when he sings, "He's only a pawn in their game"? And you submit that. Don't worry about citations. Our rubric is still the same. Don't worry about, don't worry about citations, but don't write in the first person. Like, we still want to make this formal. And just make a good faith-based effort, and you'll get a pass for this. And then when I come back and see you again on Friday, and I introduce our really, I don't know how I'm going to pick some of this stuff out, but as we look at our condensed version of civil rights, which is the last thing in this 1946 to 1960 period, I'll start off by reviewing with you, like, why we started this song, why we started civil rights with "Only a Pawn in Their Game," and the significance of the meaning of that. So I'll make sure that I go over that with you afterwards. So enjoy. I think this is really something that's really fun. I think it's really interesting, and I really think that we can get so much about understanding what the civil rights movement was up against by watching the story of Medgar Evers and trying to interpret the song "Only a Pawn in Their Game." Okay? All right, guys, have at it. And I will be talking to you again about civil rights on Friday.